Welcome to 10-Minute Zuimonki. Dōgen once taught, saying, "An ancient teacher said, 'You should listen, observe, and make it your own.' He also said, 'If you have not yet made something your own, it is good to see it. If you have not seen it, it is good to hear about it.' This means that seeing something is better than merely hearing about it, and understanding it for yourself is better than simply seeing it. If you have not yet understood it, it is good to see it. If you have not yet seen it, it is good to hear about it." Today we come to a very short passage. In fact, it is only a few lines long. Yet within those few lines, Dōgen points to an important aspect of Buddhist practice. He quotes an ancient teacher who said, "You should listen, observe, and make it your own." Then he explains, if you have not yet made something your own, it is good to see it. If you have not seen it, it is good to hear about it. At first glance, this sounds almost obvious. Of course it is better to see something than merely hear about it, and of course it is better to understand something for yourself than merely see it. But Dōgen is describing something much deeper than the ordinary process of learning. He is describing the path of enlightenment itself. The first step is hearing. All of us begin there. Before we ever sit zazen, before we read a scripture, before we meet a teacher, we hear something. Perhaps we hear a teaching. Perhaps we read a book. Perhaps we encounter a phrase that touches us. Someone tells us about the Buddha, about impermanence, about compassion, or about enlightenment. At this stage, everything belongs to someone else's experience. We are borrowing ideas. We are receiving information. And there is nothing wrong with that. Without hearing, there is no beginning. In Buddhism, this has always been important. The Buddha taught. His disciples listened. Generation after generation, the Dharma has been transmitted through hearing. Yet, hearing alone is not enough. We can spend our entire lives collecting teachings. We can memorize sutras. We can learn Buddhist terminology. We can read hundreds of books and still remain unchanged. That is why Dōgen says the next step is seeing. What does it mean to see? It means encountering something directly. Instead of merely hearing that all things are impermanent, we begin to notice impermanence for ourselves. We watch seasons change, we watch people age, we watch our own thoughts arise and disappear. Instead of merely hearing that attachment causes suffering, we observe attachment operating in our own lives. Instead of hearing about the restless mind, we sit quietly and experience its restlessness firsthand. At this point, the Dharma begins to move from theory into experience. It becomes less abstract, less second-hand. It becomes more real. Yet even seeing is not enough. This is Dōgen's most important point. There is still a difference between seeing something and truly making it your own. We have all had experiences that we understood intellectually but failed to embody. For example, everyone knows that life is impermanent. No one seriously doubts it. Yet, how often do we live as though things will last forever? How often do we postpone what matters? How often do we cling to people, possessions, or circumstances as though they could remain unchanged? We may see impermanence, yet not fully live from that understanding. To make something your own means that it becomes part of your being. It changes the way you live. It changes the way you respond to life. The teaching is no longer outside you. It has become your own understanding. Zen places enormous emphasis on this point. The purpose of practice is not to accumulate knowledge. The purpose is transformation. A person may know many Buddhist teachings and still be deeply attached, fearful, or confused. Another person may know very little but embody the Dharma in everything they do. The difference lies in whether the teaching has become their own. This is why Zen teachers often warn against mistaking information for wisdom. Information can be borrowed, wisdom cannot. Information can be memorized, wisdom must be lived. Dōgen's sequence is remarkably simple. First hear, then see, then make it your own. Each stage is important. Without hearing, we may never encounter the Dharma. Without seeing, the Dharma remains a collection of ideas. Without making it our own, the Dharma never becomes a living reality. And perhaps this process never truly ends. Even after years of practice, we continue hearing, we continue seeing, we continue deepening our understanding. Again and again, teachings that once seemed familiar reveal new depths. A phrase we have read 100 times suddenly comes alive. An insight we thought we understood begins to penetrate more deeply. Practice itself is this continual movement from borrowed understanding to direct realization. So the question Dōgen leaves us with is not how much Buddhism we know. The real question is, what have we truly made our own? What teachings have become part of the way we live? What truths have moved beyond words and entered our hearts? The ancient teacher says, listen, observe, make it your own. Perhaps the whole path can be summarized in those 3 simple steps. Thank you for listening. Until next time.